Genesis chapter 8. Let's call this one Safe to Bless. Safe to Bless. And this time the very first verse caught my attention when it reads, "But God remembered Noah." And that struck me as odd that God would have to remember anything. And I know me, and I'm pretty sure that back in the day, much like chapter 2, this is one of those verses that would have caused me some trouble, wondering, why does God have to remember anything at all? But this time reading through it, I was a little bit more introspective. Instead of questioning God, I questioned me. See, because if someone as important as Noah had to wait for the resolution of his situation, how much more me, right? We're living in a situation where God is dealing with millions of concerns at any given time, and that's just for his believers, understanding that he loves the entire world and wants everyone to come into a right relationship with him. Ultimately, it's not that he can't multitask, but I started to wonder, okay, what's the wisdom in him having us wait? It's because no matter how great we are in certain circumstances, he's vetting our character. Look at it this way. I can hold my breath underwater for a certain period of time, but after a while, I'm going to have to come up for air. And no matter how well trained any of us gets in holding our breath underwater, at a certain point, our natural state is breathing air above water, and we're going to have to come up for air. And so if all I'm doing is modifying my character for the amount of time I think it takes for God to bless me, then God's going to vet that and find out whether or not my change is genuine. And so what does that mean? Look at it this way. We just had 2 spree shootings in the last few days, one in Buffalo, New York, and one in Los Angeles or near Los Angeles. If God were simply functioning as a genie for people with those kinds of motives, what would the world actually look like? No matter what you think of what the world looks like right now, how much worse would it be if God was really playing the genie for people who are murdering the elderly? And then think about it this way. Those men aren't the only ones with character defects. God is vetting the character defects of each and every one of us to make sure that we are safe to bless. He specifically says, one, in Proverbs 21, if you have a cold heart to the requests of others, maybe you shouldn't expect God to have a warm heart towards your request to him. If husbands are not living with their wives in an understanding way, shouldn't necessarily expect God to have a warm heart towards your requests. And if you are not forgiving others, he reminds us that one of the most important requests that we can offer up are prayers for forgiveness. And if we're not forgiving, we probably shouldn't be expecting him to answer our prayers for forgiveness. And ultimately, he says if our motives aren't in the right place, we probably shouldn't expect him to answer our prayers. And so, spree shooters aside, each and every one of us have character issues we need to work on. And the question isn't so much whether or not God can multitask. It's what are we doing to make sure that we're safe to bless while we're waiting for him to answer our prayers.